Time now for the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. And now, here she is, the smart, the sexy, the savvy, divine Miss C.
And welcome to my world, the world of Laurie Zoock. I just love doing this show. I get to have the best guests on. We talk about non-mainstream media topics. And my goal is to give you the reality of situations, and that's what we're going to do today. And I have with me on the line Dr. Dan Madock. He is a Temple Terrace chiropractor. Welcome to the show, Dr. Dan.
Thank you, Laurie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. You've been on the show before, and I want to talk about a topic that I find interesting from a doctor's perspective, because being a patient myself, I think when I go into the doctor, I have a co-payment. There's usually a deductible, and I never really realized until talking to doctors that doctors really don't get much from the billing. So can you explain a little bit, like if a patient comes in, you're billing them with certain billing codes for whatever services you have performed. But then it goes to the insurance company. What typically happens, and how do you get paid or not get paid? Because I know there's lots of issues with billing from both the patient's perspective and also from the doctor's perspective.
That's correct. The billing is frequently, we render a service. We have diagnosis codes which relate to the patient's complaint. Then we have CPT codes that relate to the procedures that we perform. And we put those on a billing sheet, and then it's either electronically or sent by mail. It goes into a central processing agency. Quite often, it used to go directly, like some of the billing used to go directly to Medicare, but now Medicare has come up with some kind of a central billing agency, and we have to pay them a monthly fee just to be able to send our fees into Medicare through this extra organization. And so on top of the fact that they deny and delay claims, now everything goes to what they call an audit, which is automatically 10 days before they even consider the bill for payment, and then it's another 30 days before they consider paying. Sometimes we have things sit on the floor for 60 and 90 days before they're paid. Sometimes longer than that, and so services that I render today, I might not see remuneration from for 9 months or 90 days, 120 days. We just got payments in. I have to hire a specific insurance attorney that goes back after insurance companies, especially the personal injury attorney or the personal injury insurance companies, Progressive, State Farm, Allstate. And just today we got payments on cases that were like from 2012. They have to go, they have to file suit, they have to fight, they have to argue with them. The insurance companies cut bills, deny claims that should be paid, and it's just a constant fight and a nightmare to get paid for your services. What I'd really like to do is put Rosalind Ramirez, who is my insurance billing specialist, on the phone and let her explain kind of what goes on to you, if that's
sure.
all right with you.
Sure, please do.
All right, hang on just a second. Here's Rosalind.
Hi, Rosalind.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I am the billing specialist here in Dr. Madock's office. We go over, because of the CPT codes, the services he renders, ICD-9 codes, he diagnoses the patient. We have insurance companies. Some insurance companies go by commercial. Others are private. Others, like Ash, they're being, they come from California, where they come and they want to cap everything because there's a charge that the doctor might will have, which, for example, it will be $100. And then there's an allowable amount that they want to pay, which would be, let's just say, $30. Let's just say 30.
Okay.
And then in the end, if the patient's copay is $20, the doctor is actually going to get paid from the insurance $10. There goes your $30 allowable. Now, if the person has a deductible, then the deductible has to be met first. The copay has to be, they have a co-insurance after the copay has been met. It's a process where they want to delay so that people will forget to rebill. And because sometimes they'll give you, say, 7 to 10, or it could be 30 days to 90 days, and they want you to forget about it. But meanwhile, every day they are that the money is in there, they're gaining interest on that money that they have there, which means it's millions of dollars that the insurance companies have, but little money inside the pockets of providers as well as our patients, because they have a premium that they have to pay, but then there's an out-of-pocket cost as well.
So in reality, the doctor is really not making as much money. The patient thinks that the doctor is making a lot of money, but what you're telling me is that by the time it goes through this process, and I'm sure that every insurance company has multiple plans, and then you have Medicare or Medicaid or whatever else. There are so many. I mean, years ago, didn't it used to be that it was basically just one percentage, like an 80-20 plan?
Oh, yes.
And
for example, if it's a PIP case, it's 80-20. Now, if they have uninsured coverage, then the 20% is paid. But still in all, like, for example, massage is not being paid to the doctor because, it was proved, yes, it's supposed to be paid, although because they're appealing it, he's not getting paid for that service. So it's a service that he's supposed to get paid for, although here it is, 2 years later, he's not getting paid for that service.
Right. And what's interesting is the insurance companies are the ones who are making the money, because I can tell you that I, as a patient, recently went for some just basic for some lab work. And so I called my insurance company, Humana, and they said, oh, yes, you're absolutely covered. Let's send you over to LabCorp. And, I got the script from the doctor, and I went to LabCorp. And what does it come? It comes back that it's Humana declined to pay, but claimed I owed no money. And when I called Humana, they said, well, LabCorp incorrectly billed. And I said, okay, if I call LabCorp, they're going to ask me specifically, what do you need? And the woman at Humana said, I don't know. I can't tell you that. Have them call us. I then called LabCorp, and they don't want to call Humana back. So they play. It seems like it's all one big game of you as the patient. You're right. You're going to forget, or the doctor's going to forget. And so if 50% of people forget, wow, that's where the insurance companies are making all the money. And
Millions of dollars, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Rosalind, the sad part, too, is looking at it, I never looked at it, being a patient, I never looked at it from the doctor's perspective. I thought the doctor's making a lot of money. Now, what happens in a case where, at a chiropractor's office, somebody comes in and they want an adjustment for something that maybe isn't covered under insurance, but they really don't need? Do they seem to think that they're entitled to get it for free?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
United Healthcare is one of those that will only pay for adjustment here in Florida. Outside of the state of Florida, yes, they pay for everything, all the therapies as well as the chiropractic manipulation. Now here they figure they'll only pay $45, let's just say $45, and for chiropractic manipulation. Now here goes the patient. The patient wants electrostimulation, they want hot packs, they want the mechanical traction, but then they fight because they don't want to pay for everything else, and they just want the insurance to pay what they need. So if the patient has to pay $20 copay, the balance would be that the doctor will receive from United Healthcare $25. There goes your allowable of $45. So then, in the end, trying to collect that money is really hard. I mean, from step one, the patient entering, once the patient leaves the office, there's not a guarantee you're going to get paid. And in all insurance papers that the insurance company sends you from their company, it says it's not a guarantee of payment. So it's difficult. It's like battling to try to get paid.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that basically the doctor is floating them because the doctor's providing the service to the patient, but in reality, unless there's a copay, they're really not getting paid until months down the road, and then you as the billing person probably have to resubmit it 20 times because the insurance company is going to decline it. Now they're doing that, though, to the patients also. So I find that disturbing. And I know that you have ways that you can now file. You're forced to basically file electronically now, correct?
Yes, we file electronically. Everything is electronic. The only thing with that, because of HIPAA regulations, we have to be very careful with our papers. With that, sometimes there are glitches in the system, in the software, where they will say that they have to do maintenance, or when you're billing, sometimes it's not working. The computer, the website is down, and it makes it difficult to bill on that day. So we have things hanging. They're still there in the internet. We need to make sure we have our paperwork, because if not, everything is lost in the internet when you're doing it electronically. So it's very hard and it's tedious. But in all, yes, it is difficult to get paid, and especially if the patient has a high premium. Many times insurance companies, patients go, they get in insurance companies. When insurance agents come and sell an insurance to a patient, it might be, they're smiling, everything is nice, yeah, we can do this for you. And then afterwards the patient sees, wait a minute, this is not what you told me. Well, it is there, and I didn't mean, well, you misunderstood, and the good faith of the insurance is not there. So we have to go battling with the insurance companies, and it's difficult because the doctor is trying to get treat his patient, but it's not a guarantee of payments, and it's very hard on both ends. The insurance is the one that's lying to the doctor as well as to the patient.
Right, because it's all about the money, and I think that's that. But I wanted to bring this topic to light because a lot of people think they go into the doctor, and the doctor is getting paid hundreds of dollars on whatever that exam is. In reality, the doctor is getting paid almost nothing, and not only that, they're having to wait months to receive that payment. Now, and I think myself being an older person, years ago it wasn't that way. The insurance companies covered a lot more. It was much more simplified. So now it sounds like the whole thing has diluted into a nightmare for the doctors and the patients. And I want to, I want to thank you though for joining me, and please tell Dr. Madock for joining as well, and I appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
All right, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Are you looking for an affordable way to advertise to thousands of consumers nationally? If you own a business and didn't think you could afford radio advertising, you need to call me, Laurie Zoock, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. My show reaches thousands of people on 29 AM and FM stations nationwide, as well as through the internet. Additionally, your commercials will also be heard on my podcasts and throughout social media sites. Don't wait another minute. Call me at 813-777-4908, 813-777-4908, and let me bring your message to the nation and help you gain more exposure.
Hello, I'm Jim Velasquez. Does getting a lousy 1% on your CDs make you sick to your stomach? Inflation is hovering at 3%, so what's really happening? Allow me, Jim Velasquez, to send you my free report. If you haven't reviewed your CDs in a while, don't get this report. It will break your heart. If you want to fight back and beat the bank, text RETIRE to 72727 for this free report. Let's beat the bank. Text RETIRE to 72727 for your free report.
Our highly competitive and hectic world is fraught with dishonesty and challenges. Critical decisions must be made on a daily basis with accuracy when substantial assets are at risk. When you are confronted with a decision point involving opportunity and risk, consult with Sharpline Investigations. Statewide experts in due diligence, investigations, and litigation support. Sharpline's professionals work with clients to conduct interviews, deep background investigations, and develop facts and intelligence related to litigation. When circumstances require confidential and expert fact-finding, turn to Sharpline Investigations, the statewide leaders in investigations and risk mitigation. Visit sharplineinvestigations.com or call 855-394-0042.
Are your credit reports a mess? Are debt collectors hounding you? Maybe you're in foreclosure or headed towards foreclosure and don't know where to turn. It's time to stop panicking. Take back control of your life. Make the first step by calling Credit Education Consultants today at 813-500-6064. That's 813-500-6064. Mention the word radio for a free 15-minute consultation. Don't delay. Call today.
Do you suffer from back, neck, or body pain? Do you suffer from migraines or have jaw or face pain? Has conventional medicine failed you? Were you injured or in an accident? Call chiropractic physician Dr. Dan Madock at 813-935-1664. Dr. Dan has helped thousands of patients gain relief for more than 30 years. Dr. Dan is caring, gentle, and takes his time with each patient. He's also a past president of the International Craniopathic Society, a special certification of only 300 chiropractors worldwide. Dr. Dan helps patients from the neck up and the neck down. Dr. Dan accepts most insurance plans. Don't continue to live in pain. Call 813-935-1664 today. That's 813-935-1664 and get on track to better health.
Welcome back to the world of Laurie Zoock. And we're going to have a nice little round table here. I've got Andy Feinberg, Kiplinger's columnist, with me. He's been on the show many times. And I've got Jeff Collins here in the studio. We're going to do a little round table here. Because one of the things I've really, truly never been that interested in is politics. Even when I thought I understood it, did I really understand it? Probably not. Do I understand more being older now? Yeah, probably more. But I think, like most Americans, I'm disillusioned with the presidency, with politics. The rich keep getting richer. The poor keep getting more subsidies from the government, and those of us in the middle class keep sliding, down the mud hill into nothing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to invite both of you guys to discuss, the hot topic of Donald Trump, and we could go off Donald Trump also. But Andy, I'm going to start with you because I know you said that you had interviewed Donald Trump, correct? And you've written articles, I think, on him also?
Yes, I interviewed him for the New York Times in 1987, following the stock market crash. And very simply put, he lied to me, and I put in print, in New York Times style, that the facts did not, go along with what he said. And basically, he said he was out of the stock market at the time of the crash. He was bragging. What a shock! And he was the SEC filings showed that he was not out of the stock market at that time. So. One of the interesting things as a New Yorker, his reputation nationally now as a straight shooter goes against everything we've seen for 35 years. He just lies all the time. And in New York, he is known, he lies about his net worth, he lies about what he said, what he didn't say. And, the Megyn Kelly thing following the debate was very interesting. The New York Times put that he accused said it was due to menstruation in the headline. He of course said, "Oh, I never meant to say that. That's not what I said." And why? I'm so smart. Why would I say such a thing? But that kind of back and forth has occurred for 4 decades in New York, and we've learned never to trust him. On the other hand, what we've also learned, and I think absolutely part of his appeal, is that the skating rink in Central Park, which was once called Woolman Rink and is now Trump Rink, the city was trying to fix it and was flailing and missing deadlines, and they couldn't get it done. And Trump said, "Enough. I want to take this over. I'll get it done. And he did. And so the people who are responding to this sense of competence, forget what he says, he can do stuff. He is a highly competent builder, and there's no other story on that in New York. So I understand that some of his appeal. People who think, well, Washington can't get things done. Maybe he can.
Well, let me ask you this. If he wasn't running, let's just say hypothetically he was not in the race, do you see any political candidates, either Democratic or Republican or other, that you would consider voting for if he, him aside? Do you see anybody? Because I look at, Hillary Clinton. I mean, to me, I'm scared. I'm sitting here thinking, this woman, it sounds like what she did is very criminal. She should be indicted. But, hey, this is America where, they just got a slap on the wrist, and she could end up as president. And that to me, is frightening for our country.
Well, look, I think what she did, I think the whole email, scandal does hide a true problem, which is that I think she did it privately because she's hiding donations to the foundation and to her husband. And the worst example that we know about is UBS, the Swiss bank, which was guilty of helping Americans dodge taxes. She stomped on the IRS and said, go easy on them, don't make them disclose as much. And she won, and then $1.5 million goes into the Clinton Foundation, and that was in the New York Times. So, I mean, there's more of that stuff, and it's whether it's indictable or not, it's bad. At a minimum, it's bad.
It sets it when you have people who are supposed to be leaders that should be ethical and moral, leading the nation, and they're not. It seems to set we've talked in the past before. It sets a lower standard for everybody else. Whether they're people who are going into politics or the rest of us, who are the citizens. We see all this going on, and I can just tell you, I'm disgusted. Mm-hmm. I sit here and I go, wow, the economy years ago used to be pretty decent. I think, what is it, every 17 years or so, I think you average a stock market crash and the economy comes back. Well, let's look at it. When everything overturned, we had the mortgage crisis a few years ago. When people say things are getting better, I'll just tell you from where I sit, I don't see how things are getting better financially. They're either at a standstill or they're getting worse. And so I look at all the politicians. I actually watch the debate, and I'm not really a political person. And let me just tell you, when I saw that debate, Brett Baier set up Donald Trump to raise his hand and embarrass him. Megyn Kelly went in for the kill. The only thing is he is...
Oh, no.
Oh, come on. I think
he quoted things that he had actually said.
Yeah. She did, but she also makes herself, appear as a goody-goody because she was a corporate lawyer. She's attractive, and yes, she's smart. But she accused him, I don't know if you're aware, but she was on Howard Stern talking about her husband's private body parts. There are very sexual photos of her. If you just Google her name, one of them in a shirt that is basically see-through. And I sit here and I go, you're talking to him about those things.
Let me go to that right now.
You're talking about those things like you're Miss Prima Donna. And, whether it's true or not, first off, I know Jeff's going to butt in here and say he wanted to hear about politics. So, Jeff, go for it.
Well, there's so much wrong at all levels with the debate that happened several weeks ago. And Megyn Kelly, she's no virgin, and most people who know her through the years of being on Fox, this is the kettle calling the pot black, and it's always this way when it comes to the media. They're all pointing their fingers, but every one of them have dirty hands, and they have skeletons in their closet. The scary thing is that America tuned into it and accepted it and loved it because they wanted to. They did not tune in the debates to see the debates. They tuned in to see what Trump would say and what would happen. And it's clearly for the entertainment factor. Trump knows that. He uses that for his benefit by raising his hand, by saying Rosie O'Donnell. He understands how to work the media because he's been doing it for over 30 years.
He was prepared for the worst case scenario questions, but I think personally it made Fox look not fair. And they say fair and unbiased, and I think it made Fox look poorly. Now that whole situation, that situation between him and Megyn Kelly died down, but now it has reignited again.
Of course, because she wants to stay in the news.
Because he's been tweeting about it.
Yes,
of course. Well, he knows this is how he stays out in front.
Right. The whole thing is like a circus, right?
Well,
Andy, you know it's a game.
Two things. Back to what you were saying about Hillary Clinton. If Donald Trump is certainly not the moral alternative to anybody, period. Whether he is, he has no scruples, but dealing with people and dealing with the truth. That doesn't mean. Now, I know lots of people, Republicans and Democrats, say, well, everybody lies. So saying Hillary's lying and saying Trump is lying, it's all the same. It doesn't.
But lying isn't right.
News to them.
Politics aren't right either.
But that's where I have the problem. Okay, I think of you, Andy, as an honorable man, and I think the same of Jeff, and hopefully of myself, in that we don't lie. We say the truth, and you can say it tactfully. Donald gets up there, Donald Trump, and he tends to be more blunt, and I think that's the part that scares people. But the fact is, how are people in general accepting lying and cheating as normal and moral? And then what do they teach their children?
Well,
that's opening up a topic.
That goes back to the 60s and the 70s. Everything has to be free. You've got to be liberal, and you've got to allow things to happen and fall where they fall. That doesn't mean that the moral decay of the country is to be blamed just on politics. It needs to be blamed on everything that has happened from that time back in the early 60s to now. You just look at the way things have progressed in the last 50, 60, 50 years, because I've been around for 60. Things have gone downhill, not uphill. You can't say that things are better. Granted, technology is better. Yes, some things are better, but when it comes to the family unit and the way that our world is changing, especially America, it is decaying. It is not. Right. It is truly on the decline. It is not on the rise. And Andy, how do you feel that we can change that with the people that we have ready to run in this next election? How do we find a real truth, a real light in the fog?
Well, two things. One of the most interesting things about Trump and his announcement for the presidency and calling Mexican illegal rapists, he then denied that he had said that, which is very interesting. And Jon Stewart, on one of his last shows, played the tape repeatedly. And so, to me, one of the most insulting things is, lots of politicians lie, but when you give a national address and then within a week, when you know it's on tape, you just lie about what you said. To me, that is raising the bar on the level of contempt you have for the American voter.
Okay.
And, Bill Clinton lied about Monica Lewinsky.
And we also had a surplus, and we were not in debt by $18 trillion.
But he told one of my problems. Bill Clinton told a lie that most people would tell.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump told a lie that very few people would tell.
Yeah.
What it seems to me. And seriously, and the reason he's done that, it has everything to do with the fact that he's a billionaire and is famous and has expanded. He's not just a developer, he's a TV star, all this stuff. One of the problems, and Ross Perot had this to a degree, not with credibility, but just with arrogance. A lot of people who have success in one area of life, and it's often business, think they have the answer for everything because their life has told them they're so damn smart. And look at their bank account. If you say, "Oh, you're not so smart," hey, do you have my money? No, you don't.
Right.
So I'm smarter than you are.
Right, but he had to do something right to earn that money, even if who's good at every single thing? And that's something where, the president typically has advisors. Yeah, hopefully if he were to become president, he would have advisors that would tone him down a little bit, maybe a lot.
Well, one thing I'd like to bring up is his, in 2011, he published a book called Getting Tough. And he had, so far he's given very few specifics on economic policy.
But he did say he's going to tell us soon.
Right. Well, in this book, there are lots of specifics. And I think one reason he hasn't told the book is called Time to Get Tough, excuse me. So one of his proposals in the book is eliminate the estate tax, which he calls it a job killer, but to me it's mostly a gift to the rich. And the Congressional Budget Office says it would cost $269 billion to eliminate it. He says lower the rate on capital gains and dividends. And they said reduce corporate tax to zero, so American companies can keep jobs here. And actually, that to me, the most interesting part is he says if you reduce it to zero, you'll get more foreign companies moving some of their operations here.
Interesting thought.
Which might actually happen. That to me is the most interesting thing. Now, you also may have a global tax war as people, as their companies leave Ireland or wherever for lower taxes in the U.S. But, he also says, he would lower the tax on everybody in the United States, including corporations, with the exception of those making less than $30,000, and theirs wouldn't go up that much. Now,
how do you fund the infrastructure if you don't have taxes?
You can't fund anything.
No, nothing goes.
So what I would say is Laurie, you're talking about advisors toning him down. I'm offended when I see someone putting something that's transparently BS in a book. Now, it's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm for lower taxes," as tons of politicians say. It's another when you get a little specific, and then clearly your math doesn't work. And so I would say I would be shocked if these proposals, as written in his book, end up in a position paper in the next few weeks, because many of them are ridiculous, and many of them just don't pass the intellectual smell test. It's like,
well, how does he get past? How does he pull the wool over the eyes of the American people who are cheering him on as like he's some sort of savior? Well, don't they see the truth?
No, two things. First of all, there was a poll yesterday. He's widened. He's now up 20 percentage points over his closest Republican. And I don't mean this. These are Republican voters. So, 40% of Republican voters don't believe Obama was born in the United States. Trump was an out-and-out birther he still is. He's never renounced it. So he is aligned with some of these people. Also, they, like everybody else, and like what both of you were saying, no one's thrilled with where we are. No one is saying like this is,
Well, he shakes it up. Yeah, he shakes it up. I mean, people are so disgusted with the way things are and have been for such a long time. In a way, and I know there are bad things about Donald Trump. However, that being said, he gives the people in the country hope. He gives a lot of us hope in saying maybe somebody can do something where it's going to change the way things are. Because if you keep the people that are there in existence we're just going to keep sliding down that hole. We're already in the hole. We're in the
I
mud
just hope
pit.
that it's not a false hope, because it appears like America is the for a metaphor, we're the drowning person that's going to grab the sword. And right now, as you know, a drowning person will grab a sword. Is that what we're doing? We're just looking for some way to stay afloat. How long can we tread the water that we're at now, with the market that's tumbled the way it has, and they're lowering rates to try to jog things up? How long can we play this game? I mean, the politicians have been wearing these masks for all the years that I've been on this planet, and they've all been winking through the little eye hole at us for the last 50, 60
because
years,
they all
and we
accept,
still accept
because
it.
they all accept money from special interests for their donations. So, the one thing, though, I do have to say, Andy, is when you watch the debates, Donald Trump basically admitted it and said, yes, in business, that is what you do for business. But it disturbs me that in politics and running the country, it's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in essence,
different pieces.
He embarrassed all these people because that's the truth. That's what they're really doing. And he doesn't need to, because he doesn't need anybody's money.
Well, I mean, one of the things from this year that is absolutely most distressing to me is that, Hillary Clinton has done all these deals that help her family's foundation, and it's nuts. It's nuts for someone who knew she was going to run to try to become president. It's crazy. It's like, it's not even. I mean, they're very rich. They're not Donald Trump rich, but they're very rich, and it's not even money that. Not all of it's going into their pockets. It's just...
it's greasing the Clinton machine that has been created over the years.
Right, but there's no... the worst thing I would say about her is someone who does this, her judgment is so flawed. She doesn't see that this is going to be a problem.
It's an impaired judgment, Andy, because she's gotten away with this, her and her husband and the whole clan.
That's exactly why it's going on, I think that's the same thing with Trump, though.
Mass
I think he's
hypnosis.
gotten away with a lot. I just want to go back one second. 1992, Ross Perot ran as a third-party candidate, and a lot of people got very excited, and he got a significant amount of the vote, and a lot of people say, he threw the election to Clinton over Bush. But people lost enthusiasm for him. He kept saying, well, you got to look under the hood, and then you fix the problems you see. But he wouldn't get specific. And he just kept saying it's all about managerial competence. And I think Trump is going to run into, he may already have the nomination by the time he runs into this problem. But because, Laurie, you brought, who is going to stop his momentum? Who in the Republican Party? It's
no one. They're so far behind that they can't.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know. But I think he's going. Specifics in politics on both the Republicans and Democrats, they're really difficult because when you say get tough on trade, we're getting outsmarted by the Mexicans and the Chinese and everybody else. One of the things he said in his announcement, slap a 25% tariffs on Ford cars made in Mexico, when they come into the United States. The problem is, and Money Magazine said that, if what he wanted went into place, you'd have a global trade war, which historically is bad for everybody. He might well ignite a global recession with his. That is, if he got to put into place some of the things he wants, and that doesn't mean he's wrong.
No,
we are getting out negotiated on some things. That it's just that it's the specifics are very difficult.
Well, they're not
And
defined.
when makes them
That's
look
the.
easy.
He's not giving any specifics, like you say. There's no definition of what he's going to do. He's just doing this rah-rah campaign. The Republicans are freaking out because they're losing support and momentum, and what they're going to have to do, if they're serious, is they're going to have to, can you imagine me saying this, a Republican is going to have to get radical with their thoughts and their plans, because what's happening is Trump is radical. He is out there. He's so far out there that people are afraid of him or they love him, but the Republicans are freaking out.
Yeah, do you think, Nandy, that he'll actually get the nomination?
I said yesterday to a Democratic friend of mine that for the first time, and this is before the poll results yesterday, I said he actually could be president.
Oh, my God.
That it could happen. And I had not said that before yesterday.
All right, Andy, before you go any further, I have to have your opinion on this. Let's shoot ahead. Let's go past. Okay, you wake up tomorrow morning, and all of a sudden Donald Trump is president. What do you see would happen?
Interesting question.
Well, I want to check fares to New Zealand, first of all, but that's not where you were going with the question, I'm sure.
No.
Well, the first moment might be refreshing. I mean, very brief, as in, because the people in Congress, the people whose votes are often, bought by lobbyists and whatever, they would go like, maybe it's a different world. Maybe everything, all the assumptions I was making are wrong.
Oh, my gosh.
What have we done?
But then the
reality sets in?
Well,
Yeah.
I have seen so many good pieces of legislation get either torpedoed or watered down by lobbyists on all sorts of.
Well,
so
get rid of the
things don't-
lobbyists. Get rid of the
If
lobbyists.
bought and paid for.
That would be great.
Hmm.
I mean, that's if you
Not
make
gonna
me-
happen.
That's right. But I think that would only be good. But it's
It's
I
not gonna
think.
What do you see? What do you really think would start happening?
Do you think the economy would get better?
No. Okay. I mean, I think if he put into place everything he wanted to do, it would be a tremendous disaster. Starting with international trade.
I'll
and
join
we would
you
have
in
a
New
global
Zealand.
recession. But that he wouldn't get to do everything he wants, and maybe it's interesting. The much maligned Jimmy Carter, one of his ideas was zero-based budgeting, which is that it doesn't matter what you got last year. You have to justify
Right.
what you're getting this year. It doesn't go up 4%
Right.
this year automatically because maybe what you're doing last maybe it was worthless.
Mm-hmm.
But he got so much from both. Democrats hated Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
He tried to
Yeah.
close military bases in Democratic districts, and so he tried something really new in a couple of ways, and amazingly, he united Congress against him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look where it got him. Look where all those thoughts got him.
Right, and it's what would Trump? What would actually happen?
Yeah.
He
Do you think he would build the wall?
he would try to. Well, I mean, I think the biggest reason I would say that the people who say he has no chance of getting elected, I'd say the biggest reason is the Hispanic vote. Is that
You could rule that out.
Well,
Well, no, there are Hispanics who agree, though. There are.
large and growing part of the electorate, and he had it's very interesting from every network gave him chances to dial back what he said about, Mexicans. He didn't do it.
Nope.
He has this perverse kind of integrity. Like once he's demeaned you, he's going to stay with it.
Yeah, he's
The same
determined
thing
to
about
stick
women.
with. Well, that's good. At least he doesn't vacillate on his ideals and stuff. He
That's
just
right.
you know.
Even if this is, they're part of a big, voting bloc that, so. But you asked what would really,
What do
it's
you?
not like the world would collapse.
That's what I'm feeling.
Wait to see what he'd actually do, and he would learn.
He could learn as he
says he's the
goes.
world- I'm sorry.
He could learn as he goes. I mean, I think he, on last week's show we were talking about how he has. It's almost like a different persona. He's got his celebrity, The
Right.
Apprentice persona that is for reality TV. He's got Donald Trump. I am the businessman. He's got Donald Trump. I am the family man. And I think he's adapted, though. Well, I think, though, I know, but I think he's adapted over the years. I think he adapts well to different situations.
Well, he's chameleon cool, but
Yes.
there's also, when you talk about the reality shows, those are shows, they go on, cut, close, break the set down. But now we're talking about playing with our lives, playing with
Right.
the American lives and international as well, because what he does and says that affects around the world will ultimately affect us in the end. And I'm just worried. Look, if he builds this wall, they're going to tunnel under it. If they build the wall, they're going to fly over it. The wall is not the solution. It's here. The solution is, what do you do when people are here, and how do you let them in? We need to follow the models of other countries that there is nobody getting in unless you go through a specific place, and you do not get a government dole at all unless you are citizenized, unless you have the paperwork. If you are not legal, you do not deserve a check. If you are not legal, your children don't deserve a check.
Well, if we pay criminals and that are politicians, why not pay criminals?
Well, there you go.
And that's the problem. There's no black and white and right and wrong. Listen, I spoke to a friend of mine in Arizona yesterday, and she said that it is where she lives, it is a big problem. And truthfully, I had never heard of these sanctuary cities before any of this happened. And now every night I'm reading, 2 hours on my iPad every night all about politics, because why am I interested? I'm interested because of Donald Trump. I don't know that I will necessarily vote for him, but he gave me a reason to look at all of the different people and all of the different issues.
You're becoming aware.
I'm becoming aware, and I think, unfortunately, I don't know what percentage of people don't vote. I can tell you when I was younger, Andy, I really probably didn't vote, and pretty much it's always been when I did, it was whoever I thought of as the lesser of two evils, because I never saw anyone that wasn't evil in some way. And that's where I have a problem with the morality part of politics.
The politics has no morality.
No.
Well, two things. One on sanctuary. I mean, certainly, the murder that took place in San Francisco. That
Right.
city. That someone who's been deported 5 times. That there's any place in America that they can just go to, and there is crazy. And to the extent Trump is pointing out, that's. But one thing is, this is a direct quote about ISIS. He said, "Quote: We go in, we knock the hell out of them, we take the oil." Close quote. Now, forget the last part. Forget the oil part.
Yeah.
He is saying things. You were talking about Celebrity Apprentice. He is a master at. It's beyond sound bites. I mean, that even demeans what he said. Just these quick hits that sound. President Obama or whoever succeeds, there is, if it could be done in 2/3 of a sentence, we go in, we knock the hell out of them,
Right.
Yeah.
and then it's over. He would do it. It's not that and then he's using drones and whatever. It can't be done. It can't be done that way. And the question is, do you put in 1 million ground troops, 2 million, 3 million?
But you see, he does it by him saying we go in and knock the hell out of him. Can't you see? I mean, if right away you could remotely look around, you could see the people of around the world, or at least in America, especially in the South here, rising up and flying the flags, and they'd be, hitting the streets ready to start rioting, because that's their mentality. The American mentality is build the fence, shut them out, get the illegals out of here. Well, they have a purpose here. What has happened over the years is we've lost our industry of vegetables, our agricultural industry, has gone from what used to be a different race of people to now the only race of people who will actually do anything in the agricultural industry, and they're called the Mexicans. And without them, who is going to take care of the job that needs to be done? I'm not belittling them. What I'm saying is there are people that are doing this job, and if we say, all of you, because you're all legal, get on this bus, get out of here, and the fruit and everything else that we do is going to stop, and then who's going to do it?
That's true, though, because because the people in the United States who are at minimum wage, they don't want to work.
They don't.
They don't, and so I see that as a legitimate issue.
You can't just round people up like in Nazi Germany and start putting them in, because you know you've got to put them in a concentration camp, or you have to put them in retainment centers. But it's still the same thing. It's got barbed wire and one way in and one way out. And then they're going to ship them back? No, that's not going to happen. There's going to be abuse. There's going to be things that shouldn't be going on. And it's not easy. It's not pretty. And it's not going to be a simple solution. But by Trump just saying we're going to round them up, get them out, burn them out, and people are clap. But what happens? What happens when it's you that he decides doesn't need to be here anymore? What about if he says, we don't want the Laurie Zooks. We want their group of people out here.
He said that last week. I didn't say that, but
that's a scary thought. You know, you're right. I don't know, but I look at the candidates for presidency and go, what the hell?
I agree with you. I agree.
When he since we're talking about illegals to an extent, statistics show illegals are less likely to commit rape than white American citizens. That's true. And as he makes a number of his statements, that it's one thing to say, here's what I'll do with ISIS, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
But as he says things that are both offensive and also untrue, even if you follow the logic,
it doesn't add
up.
I
wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're falling into this thing. Yeah, Trump's got it. He's figured it all out. He's going to build a wall, and we're going to get rid of the illegals, and that we're going to stop that. No, you're not going to stop it. It's been going on for too long, and we didn't do it when we should have done it.
But what Trump did was he brought to light what people were feeling about that. Whether or not he'd actually be able to do anything about it are two separate issues.
But you still have a problem here that exists. You have, roughly 20 million illegal, if not more, people living in this country, and a lot of them on the government dole. And if they're not, they're taking the money which belongs in America, and it's being shipped out of America to Mexico, and that's hurting us at the base. So what we need to do is figure out how do you slow the hemorrhaging? You have a country that's hemorrhaging. We can't just stop it. We have to slow it down. We have to think of it logically, and we got to start somewhere. But opening the borders like Obama has done, and just basically you just take away immigration and just let everybody come in.
That's
drain this place completely dry, and then start from all over. Start from the beginning.
That's it. We got about 30 seconds. So, Andy, any last comments that you want to give?
Well, it's obviously what hasn't worked when Republicans come back at Trump about things he's said. It's going to be very interesting if someone finds a way of saying, okay, you said that's the easy part. Here are the actual facts. What do you do about these? How do you change this? And whether anyone is going to be able to slow him down, because obviously, the stuff about the Mexicans, the stuff about Megyn Kelly, as people point out, things that would derail any other candidate of either party don't derail him.
Not at all. In fact, just get him more food for fodder.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. Andy Feinberg, thank you so much. I love you. I love when you're on the show. You always contribute great stuff. And Jeff Collins here of WDCF, thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Andy.
And we'll be back next week on The World of Laurie Zoock.